Kar yağarken üşürsen palto ararsın. Çaresiz kalırsan dost bulamazsın. Tek dostun sırdaşın kalır umut. Gün ışığı aydınlık zenginliğimdir. Üstümdeki giysiler senin eskindir. Eski dostlarım şimdi nerelerdedir? Sora sora ne hal oldum bulamadım ki. Umut fakirin ekmeği, aşı yoldaşı, hasta anasının gelmez ilacı. Umut fakirin ekmeği, aşı yoldaşı, hasta anasının gelmez ilacı. Gün ışığı aydınlık zenginliğimdir. Üstümdeki giysiler senin eskindir. Eski dostlarım şimdi nerelerdedir? Sora sora ne hal oldum bulamadım ki. Fakirin ekmeği, aşı yoldaşı, hasta anasının gelmez ilacı. Umut fakirin ekmeği, aşı yoldaşı, hasta anasının gelmez ilacı.
döndü gerçek olan aşkımız. Sevilmeden sevilmez, kuru ağaç eğilmez. Kalp Allah yapısıdır, kalbe asla değilmez. Sevilmeden sevilmez, kuru ağaç eğilmez. Kalp Allah yapısıdır, kalbe asla değilmez. Ayrılık günü bugün. La lay la lay la la lay. La 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 lay la la lay. La lay la 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 lay. La 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 lay la la lay. Burada seninleyim, sokaklarda seninleyim, rüyalarda, uykumda seninleyim. Telefon çalsa bile konuşurum sen diye. Kapım açık bak yine seninleyim. Başkası kollarımda, sen varsın yanımda. Öptüğüm dudaklarda seni özlerim. Söylenen sözler senin, aşk şarkımsın benim. Gözlerim kapalı seni dinlerim, beklerim. Bakarlar deli diye sevişirim seninle. Göremezler ben içimden gülerim. Sen sağımda solumda, sigaramda yanımda. Başkası kollarımda, sen varsın yanımda. Öptüğüm dudaklarda seni özlerim. Söylenen sözler senin, aşk şarkımsın benim. Gözlerim kapalı seni dinlerim.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Cyborg. How's it going?
Is that any better?
Oh yeah, much better. Don't worry. What's good?
Not much.
How's your week?
It's all right, I guess. Yeah, it was good. It was all right.
That sounds like it was bad.
There was a lot of bad moments, but I think overall I actually feel like I'm starting to make a difference. No, that's not the right word, but I'm starting to understand what I'm capable of and what I can change.
What you were meant to do in this world?
Oh God, no, I have not figured that out. I honestly think I'm like meant to just like own some kind of a shop, like on a beach or in a mountain or something like that.
You know, after I started my first company, my backup plan was like, I was like, I'm never ever going to go back to work for somebody else. And I'm going to move to Hawaii and just fucking sell trinkets in Hawaii on the beach, you know?
The girl that I went to high school with is I think she's a yoga instructor and she lives in the Cayman Islands.
Really?
She moved out there, yeah, like when we were in our 20s. Like I heard that she moved out there like when I was in my 20s.
No way. Well,
Isn't that cool?
yeah, I mean, I guess it's still in the cards. It's just hard to imagine. You know, I would love to just be a bum on the beach, on the bitch. On the bitch.
You know, I feel like a business like that, you can take, you know, it with you. You can grow a following.
What, like selling trinkets and shit?
No, like yoga. Like that's what she does, like yoga or Pilates or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't catch that part. I'm sorry. Am I
Okay,
not?
am I
are
not
my
coming
ears?
in all right?
Maybe my ears aren't working. Maybe I'm just like too full of shit in myself to pay attention to anybody else. Yard sale, what's up? What's up?
What's up?
What's
How you
up?
doing?
Did you see that Machine Gun Kelly is doing this song with Bert from The Used?
I did not.
You want to do you want to do a quick listen, real quick?
Yeah. Let's
Yard
do it.
sale.
Hey, how you doing?
Dude,
Pretty good.
can you guys see? All right, I'm gonna share my screen right now, but like, can you guys just see how many fucking trackers and ads blocked in the past? Like since I started using Braze, 69.6 million. It's insane. The time
Million?
the
Whoa.
million, and the time saved. Look at how many days have been saved out of my life from like load time. 40 days and over a month.
God.
It's crazy to think about like all the things in your life that just take up time when your life and your time is the most valuable resource. Like it's the most valuable currency ever, right? So like you don't get much of it. So whenever I have to wait at like DMV or some shit like that, like something that I haven't chosen to wait for willingly, it enrages me. Literally, this is my life and the time is getting spent. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
I'm mad at the fact that that shit is just so inefficient. That's what, like that you
Yeah.
have to stand in line.
Well,
you know, the
I mean,
DMV,
it's not even just the
A lot of that
DMV. It's
stuff
just
can be
like
fine.
oh, for sure, but just in general, I don't know, like everything you do in your life is made up of choices, right? So like if I have a job and I have to sit in traffic and commute and it's literally killing my time, I can be upset about it. Also, I could be upset of like being put on hold for like a bank or like something. You know, it's just literally time.
the
All these
lines,
all
because
these
lines have gotten worse since the pandemic. So do you find that like you're even more upset, or that it's like, okay, this is because the world is different now?
Well, so there's a couple points I want to make. One, that like you can link anything that you wait for back to your own choices, right? So if you go at the DMV, you want to get a license because you want to be able to drive. So, indirectly, this is what you want. And then in terms of like just time. Ooh, I'm hearing something. In terms of just time in general, like I'm like, I don't like. Sometimes I get upset, but sometimes like I recognize that I've chosen to be here and waste my time. You know what I mean? Which is absolutely absurd sometimes. One of those things is like the doctor's office. You know, when I'm like, every time you set up a doctor's appointment, they usually just make you wait in the waiting room for like a half hour or something like that. It's never at the time that you fucking booked.
Ever at the time.
And it's like, hello, like there's a reason I booked this. You know what I mean? Like you have this time slot, I have this time slot right now, and that's all I'm willing to give out of my life, right? And you're just like stomping all over that shit. Stomping all over that shit. The other day, the BMW had my car because, you know, it was getting the brake pads fixed or replaced. And they couldn't give me a time at which they were going to drop it off. And I was like, what do you mean you can't give me a time? Like, I have to work, you know, like you can't just show up randomly. And that's exactly what happened. They showed up randomly and I was in the middle of a fucking meeting and there's no way I can go pick up my car downstairs and be in the meeting at the same time. It's just these little things, and they, you know, they add up across an entire lifetime, right? You probably waste like years when you combine it all in wait time. And it's just insane to think about. Our human lives are so short. Whatever. Anyways, I'll get off my high horse. Let's do this listening party.
Do it.
I have to search for it. Let's see. Machine Gun Kelly, Bert, used. It's a particular song. I wonder if I saved it.
Bert McCracken.
Listen to Machine Gun Kelly, Young Blood, and the Used Bert team up on Body Bag. So it's called Body Bag. Body Bag. All right. I think this is it. Here we go.
On my wish list, she knows my pressure points, it hurts. She gives me kisses, her glitter gets everywhere. I've got my issues, but I have the right to think you're wrong. You're just a witch and I drank your poison, baby. Put me in a body bag. I'm not mad, I just want us to be better. It feels right when we're together, okay? I'm not mad, I just cover up my temper. You're supposed to love me better, baby. So put me in a body bag. I just want us to be better. It feels right when we're together, okay? I'm not mad, I just cover up my temper. You're supposed to love me better, baby. So put me in a body bag.
Thoughts?
I don't like it.
Round. Let's do a round robin. Duff.
But
Yeah.
I want to
Elaborate.
on that note. Hold on. Hello? All right.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's just bland and boring, and there's something about the Used and Bert that is really starting to sink in for me. because I love that first album. I still love it. Like you can
Same.
listen to it when you're happy and it makes you ecstatic, and when you're feeling down, it's like a warm blanket. You could just, and but you notice like so they have like what like 8-9 CDs out, right? Ever since their second album, Bert pretty much does the same shit. It's like the same sort of melody. It's kind of like there's a few tracks on each album that are good, but like it's very different than that first album. Like he took a left turn and just stayed in that lane.
Yeah.
And while I know people enjoy the Used still, I just kind of find it boring, bland. Like it's not it doesn't excite me. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that. I definitely, well, I think I'm going to disagree a little bit, but it's not my turn. Duff.
So I did not watch it. I only learned yesterday who Machine Gun Kelly was.
Oh, wait, so you didn't listen to it because it was just audio?
I didn't listen to it.
Oh,
no.
okay.
I never
okay.
get the audio that you play.
Fine.
I don't know how to figure that out. So
On
Yeah, you
usually
have to,
look
you
up
have
the
to,
stuff later.
You have to mute on Discord and watch it on YouTube.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Look
Lux.
at Yard Sales, the fucking tech
He's a
genius
G now. Yeah, right? Lux.
I have no fucking clue who this guy is. The only reason I even know who he is because he's fucking Megan Fox. That's it. I don't know. I thought it was like little
Oh.
kid music.
He was fucking with Eminem too for a while. Like there was that whole beef or whatever.
I wasn't a fan. I don't like that kind of music anymore. That little pop punky shit.
Yeah,
I thought it was rap. I thought he was a rapper.
he is, but he's made moves. He started making like pop punk and kind of doing collabs with like old school pop punk people. What you would consider old school pop punk people. Like, he did a cover of Rage Against the Machine with Travis Parker, and then he did a song where Megan Fox was in the music video. He's now doing this collaboration with the Used, with Bert.
Speaking of like rappers and kind of dipping their toe into fucking with like music that they probably grew up on that is outside of the genre they do. It's just a side tangent. I was really, really impressed by the Post Malone concert. It was just like, and it was him and Travis Barker doing a full concert of Nirvana songs, and Post Malone knocked it out of the park, dude. He killed it.
have you listened, dude? Okay, so from the moment I heard, what was the first song that I heard from Post Malone? It wasn't the Rockstar song. It was something else. But it was something else. But I knew that guy was like, I fell in love with the song. And the more I dug into him, the more I was like, I knew this was my man. You know what I mean? And you can look up old like Post Malone videos where he's super young before he has the tattoos. He looks like this dorky ass kid, and he's playing guitar and he's singing, and he's really fucking talented. Like really fucking talented. And he has like this wide spectrum of like taste for different genres. Like I've seen him walk around with different Bad Brain shirts, talk about various different artists. I just got like, I think a lot of like older people maybe not recognize Post Malone as like kind of somebody who's, when we were younger, there was like rap metal, right? And it was like hip hop trying to get into metal, and now we have kind of the opposite, where you've got like this molding of hip hop and more kind of like rock tones into hip hop, but it's like it's hip hop dominant, whereas it used to be like metal or rock dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I really like Post Malone, man. I will share a couple thoughts on this. I do like hearing new pop punk from just in general, seeing somebody kind of like try and push it to pop punk dominant. You see a lot of like, I'm seeing a lot of like artists who were fans of emo and pop punk, and they try to incorporate that into hip hop where it's hip hop dominant. And they just kind of like copy the guitar tones of like emo and the kind of whiny vocals, nasally vocals of like pop punk into hip hop, if that makes sense. I'm seeing, like, I've got a short list of some of those artists, and it's really interesting to hear. I just appreciate people taking a stab at it. For this song in particular, I like Young Blood's part. If that makes sense. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's kind of bland. I still enjoyed it, right? But Bert's part wasn't particularly great. Neither was Machine Gun Kelly's, but Young Blood had vocals that you would normally hear in like modern pop, and it was kind of inserted into pop punk, and it kind of tickled my ear a little bit because it was just, he used a lot of like falsetto, which you wouldn't normally ever use in pop punk, and so I found it really interesting. And his part was the part towards the end of the song. He was like, each one of them shared a verse. Each one of them did a verse. Bert did the first one, Machine Gun Kelly did the second one, and then I think Youngblood did the third one. And that was really interesting to me because you hear that kind of voice in like hip hop and kind of like Spanish pop, and it was really interesting. I'd be really interested to hear an entire pop punk album from Youngblood.
I do, regardless of whether I liked it or not.
Voice. I having trouble hearing you.
Regardless, like how I felt about it, I agree with you. Where like I appreciate this collaboration. Like it, because it's kind of like the new guard. Like not in their head towards like the shit that I grew up with, it's like, that's cool, like I thought they're all forgotten about, and it's like, no, these people, like these dudes probably grew up on that shit too, to a certain extent, maybe, I don't know, but it is fun.
Yeah,
I didn't like it. The idea of it is fun for me.
I think in general, like I said, I really would like to hear. I think what would be a good transition is getting some different kinds of little additions of modern rhythms into pop punk, and then vocals into pop punk would be just really interesting to me. Because this kind of showed me how it could sound if there was more time spent on it. Speaking of which, since we're on the music topic, did you know Mariah Carey wrote an entire rock album when she released Daydream? So she wrote this lady Chick, who was really popular in the 90s. After she was done recording Daydream, she would go over to the studio, hum some like tunes. They would create a guitar riff, and she would write, and she actually recorded the backup vocals for this. But I love Mariah Carey. If you don't know, I'm a big fan of Mariah Carey, and it's interesting to hear that she like wrote an entire rock album.
Did it ever get produced or?
Yeah,
sang,
yeah. This
you
is the
know?
song. She wrote this entire album. I mean, you can't hear it, Duff, but I mean, I'll post it. I'll post it in the chat so you can see it, but at a later date. But it's interesting. By the way, Yard Sale, did you ever check out Thundercat?
A little bit. I watched the video that you sent to me,
Yeah.
and I watched a couple others. I haven't gone on a deep dive, but I dug what I saw. I was like, I get what you mean. Like, it was Frank
Zappa
versus like mixed with. I forgot the other example you used.
D'Angelo. If D'Angelo and Frank
D'Angelo
Zappa merged, it would be Thundercat.
He's dope. But I still need to go and like I haven't like gone on an exploratory mission to really like feel him out. But yeah, I liked the few tracks I listened to.
He's a literal like if you also see him live, he's literally a genius on bass. Mm-hmm. Like. He's just.
That's how I know of him. Is just like famous bassist, like.
Yeah.
Speaking of like, just like hip hop artists, kind of paying homage or whatever to different genres and whatnot. Like, do you know who Danny Brown is?
No, who the fuck's that?
He's he's a dude from Detroit. He came up kind of around the same time as like the A$AP Rocky crew and like the TDE crew, like Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, Black Hippie, all that shit. But he's from Detroit, and he's a really good rapper. He's kind of like he kind of has like an ODB flair to him, kind of like sort of like druggy rap. Interesting style. Not as many.
Actually,
like,
I could legitimately, like, I literally can hear the ODB tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, but just without like the sort of like crazy harmonizing and singing shit that ODB did, right? But he's a funny motherfucker. Like, he's on like Joey Diaz's podcast all the time. He has his own. He's a great dude, great artist, but he's always rocking like Frank Zappa shirts and stuff, and like just like obscure like rock shirts, and
yeah.
It's funny because like there's a funny story he told about he's always wearing skinny jeans, and like 50 Cent was like, dude, I really like your music, I want to take you on tour. And then he went on tour with him, and 50 Cent's like, dude, you're great and all, but like I can't fuck with you if you keep wearing skinny jeans and like white pants and shit. Like, dude, like, and he bought him like some baggy pants to wear. He's like, you gotta wear these. And Danny Brown like wore him. He's just like, when he gets all excited, he just like this, like, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. He's like, yeah. So he went back to skinny jeans. He's like, he's like, I'll make it on my own. Like, sorry, 50.
Shit. It's funny, man. I mean, I miss sagging my pants, man. I really do.
But I was thinking about sagging the other day. You know what?
What is sagging your pants?
Sagging,
what?
Like,
is that like when you wear your pants like really low?
Show a little booty. Little booty crack.
I always did wonder, like, how do you get them to like just hang?
Well,
like what? There's people that get them to hang perfectly. You're like, how are you actually wearing pants?
So you just adjust your belt for your booty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you
yeah.
But,
like, isn't that uncomfortable though?
No.
Nah, actually it's really comfortable because you get that like breeze around your boxers, but then you also got like all this room down below, so it's just kind of like, it's nice. I imagine it's similar to being a skirt.
And then you just fart into the wild, just you don't have to do laundry as often.
shit.
remember, like in the '90s, like growing up, like we all wear like Dickies and shit. We used to sag our Dickies and whatever, and like they were almost like made for sagging, little baggy pants. And
Yeah.
then in the early 2000s, when became scenester, and started transitioning to skinny jeans, there were certain people that still tried to keep the sagging going on with the skinny jeans, and that just looks so gross. Like you can't sag with skinny jeans; it just looks gross. It's foul looking. Like,
It's
stop.
foul. I know you sag with skinny. I sagged with skinny jeans.
I mean, I did, but I learned my lesson, and I don't anymore.
Oh man, I don't know. But you can't sag with like medium-sized jeans. You know what I mean? Like regular medium-sized jeans. If you wear them, you kind of just look like this like not put together construction worker dude.
Yeah, or I've been taking the bus lately, and there's a lot of homeless people on the bus.
There you go. Yeah.
That, like, are they sagging, or are they just homeless and fucking drunk with no belt? Like, it's a fine line, like between sagging and homeless.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I guess, like, what is the appeal? Is it just the comfort of having like an airy behind?
Easy
Or is
access.
there like a fashion?
Easy access.
Okay.
For your boys.
Yes. For sexual purposes, or also for going to the bathroom, also for farting, also for air. There's 1,000 benefits to sagging.
1,000 benefits. You feel cool. I mean, honestly though, like I definitely, I'll admit it right here, right now, on the VAM Show, I sagged my pants because I grew up in the '90s watching like Chino Marino from the Deftones, fucking Fred Durst, like just like that was the thing. You just sagged your pants. I was an impressionable young kid, and I wanted to be cool because I was just a big dork, and I thought maybe I sag my pants, I get laid. It didn't happen that way, but I still appreciate a pant sag.
Yeah, is it a big draw for the ladies?
Not now, no, not now. Like sometimes,
but it was.
Maybe no ladies I ran into, but I mean, but
Yeah, I tell you what, when I got expelled from my junior high school for smoking the pot, and when I went to my new middle school, I bought like not cross trainers, jogging pants with the stripes down the side. Nike used to make them. Fucking Adidas, yeah. Right? And they were track pants, and they were really like baggy, and then I sagged them, and
Jonathan Davis pants.
And I got like my first day of school, man. I had all the ghetto bitches on me. And then when they saw that I didn't actually own an entire dresser full of this stuff, I lost my appeal.
They were like, "See ya."
Well, that's an interesting point, because definitely girls that like had crushes on me or whatever, but like I never knew why it was. You know what? Like all this time I thought it was because of me.
It was the saggy pants.
It was a fucking saggy pants. What a fool. It was not me. It was not my personality.
No. I know exactly, dude. Women have you seen Yard Sale?
Yeah, we've met.
Yeah. Okay, women fall in love with his eyes. Do they not?
Oh, he has the most amazing eyes. He really does.
Yeah.
They're beautiful and piercing.
When I messed up,
he's all blushing and shit. He doesn't know what to do. He don't know what to do. All his life he's been told his eyes are beautiful, and he still doesn't fucking know what to do.
Those beautiful eyes turn into shark eyes, so I don't know what she's talking about. It's just lifeless and dead inside. But thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
It's a compliment. You have really great eyes.
Thank you.
I mean, I've been told I have nice eyes, but you have those like striking eyes. There's people that you run into, like people that, have you ever met somebody with like the beautiful green eyes? Or that, what's her name? There's like a few actresses. One of them has like these crazy beautiful eyes. She played the daughter of The Rock in the San Andreas movie. I don't know her name or anything.
Yeah,
I think she was in Baywatch too.
Oh, we talking about David Hasselhoff?
No, it was a woman.
I mean, my eyes turned from blue to green.
That's cool.
That is pretty cool.
You want to just do the rest of this podcast?
It's a cool combination.
Yeah, we're gonna just talk about your entire eye, just one, and then next episode we'll start on the other one.
Do you have any comments about my eyes, Lux?
Is even there?
I was thinking about what sort of wisdom I could drop here. Yeah, I just think it's pathetic how what a fucking hand up in life is completely wasted.
What did you say?
What a hand up in life he's been given, and he's just completely wasted it. There's a great line we used to talk about. What was the show with the fucking guys from Hollywood? The actor from Hollywood. Entourage. Yeah. We were that was my retirement plan. Michael Yard Sale was gonna become a famous actor, and I was gonna be part of his entourage.
That's right. That's right.
That was Greg. That was Greg's retirement plan. That was my brother's retirement plan. I mean, it sounds like all my friends need to get a life of their own and stop fucking banking on me.
Yard sale.
We wisened up real quick, actually. So.
Yard sale.
There's this great line.
Get your fucking shit together, bro.
I remember the guy Eric and like his best friend. They were like talking, and at one point he says like, "Man, if I looked like you, I'd fucking rule the world already." That's basically how I feel like about my yard sale.
Yeah. All right. I can.
By the way, Mark Rebier, our
boy,
our unofficial podcast DJ, is playing a show here in the Bay.
Fuck! Really?
No shit. When? Where?
Yeah, on Halloween, up near us.
He's doing 2 shows in Burlingame, one on the 31st and one on the 1st.
That's my roommate, a special guest star for the
Nice.
podcast. Yeah, we're yard sale. We're gonna get tickets if you want to come. It's Halloween night. Halloween, you said?
31st and the 1st. So I think that's Halloween, right? The 31st.
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm down. I wish I knew a little sooner, but yeah, I'll work it out. Yes.
All right. Well, fuck you guys, because I know, dude. I know he lives here. He lives in New York, and so like you could just take one look at his apartment. It's a New York apartment. It's great to see his apartment change over time. You know what I mean? Like when I first started listening to him, he was in a shithole. I don't know if you guys know his story much, but he used to be a support, like, call dude, right? And
what's that? What's the support call, dude?
Like, people call into support, asking for like, help with their account or something for whatever service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He answered the phone saying he was Vindeep from India.
No. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Speaking of New York, there's this proposed building on Roosevelt Island. It looks like a boat on Roosevelt Island. It's fucking massive. Duff, have you heard of this?
No, I have not.
There's all these exotic buildings that are being like proposed in New York as of lately. Like this thing looks like a cruise ship. It's
Is it on land or is it on water?
It's on Roosevelt Island. There's two buildings being proposed. One looks like a blob, and the other one looks like a boat. It's actually insane. Makes me. Maybe I should buy something on Roosevelt Island. Anyways, that's a side note. There's been a couple of cyber attacks. The Fed got attacked. Basically, the attacker entered through like Microsoft Office and was able to kind of like download a whole bunch of data. There's not much data. There's not much information on what specifically was done, but it was basically all done through Microsoft Office.
Aren't they the ones that are gonna buy?
They were gonna.
TikTok.
I mean, they're also trying to crack a cryptocurrency that's supposed to be anonymous. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, they're not very secure.
That was why Microsoft Office was down this week, huh?
No, that's a separate case. But I mean, this is probably also another reason why privacy is important. You know, these things get cracked, and you know, people who house them. Although I don't think this is the public's information, it's mainly the government. There's details about the entire attack here, and this is the actual report. Yeah, there was another hack. Hospital system, which, you know, they probably got a whole bunch of like people's records, medical history. Keep your data safe, folks. You were asking about Signal, right, Lux? Hello? I guess Lux is gone forever.
No, I'm on mute, so it takes me a minute to lock the phone and unmute. No, I mean, I just heard about it today. It sounds interesting. I heard Snowden was recommending it.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about it if you guys think it'll help, but because I might move permanently to it. So Signal is basically SMS. But it's encrypted. Now, what makes this different from, you know, like WhatsApp or any of these, or like iPhone encryption, is that there's basically 2 points, right? There's the person who sends the message, but there's 3 points. There's a person who sends the message, it goes to a server, and then it goes to the recipient. Now, when companies like WhatsApp and Apple, you know, they tout, you know, end-to-end encryption. What they mean is that it's encrypted from when it leaves your phone to the server, and then it's also encrypted between the server and the recipient. But that does not mean that it's encrypted on the server. So basically, Apple or Facebook could access your message when it hits the server. Does that make sense? So with Signal, it's full end-to-end, meaning it's encrypted all the way to the point of, you know, when the recipient receives the message. Signal is open source. What that means is that the code is public. Anybody can audit it and look through it to make sure that it's not, you know, containing anything shady or anything like that. And it's publicly, you know, like, you know, you can add code to it if you wanted to. And
I assume it's been audited for like backdoors and stuff.
Yeah, that's like the benefit of open source. Is that anybody can look at it, and because the open source community is kind of hyper focused on like privacy and backdoors and stuff like that, the community immediately tries to like point these things out. But the main benefit of Signal, outside of it being completely encrypted, right? So like, let's say somebody intercepts that message, right? They won't be able to read it, right? But the main benefit is that it's very user friendly. There's very little privacy tools that make it so easy to just use. So for this, you just download it, you put your phone number in, and then bam, you're ready to go. End-to-end encryption, though, requires the other user to have Signal as well.
Yeah, we gotta get 2 more people.
Yeah, so that's the main. I think that's why Snowden recommends it, is because it's very hard to get anybody to get into privacy tools, but Signal is just so freaking easy that anybody can get into it. Yep. But there are some drawbacks. For example, you need to put in a phone number, which is part of your metadata, and it has an IP address, which is also part of your metadata. So if you can hide your IP address, that's another thing. That's probably a good thing. But it's almost negligible because unless you're Snowden, who's trying to get tracked or whatever by governments, you probably don't really care about hiding your IP or anything like that. Although the IP is associated with your location, so you might want to consider that anyways. But you can hide that through Tor or VPN. And there are alternatives. There's this app called Session, and this is probably as private as it gets because it's through blockchain, it's decentralized, there's no metadata whatsoever, so you don't put in a phone number, there's no IP addresses. It's just a little bit more difficult because you're using keys. Basically, if I wanted to have an extremely private message with Lux, I'd have to send him my key, and then we would be able to communicate together. So it's just a little bit different, but yeah, man. I mean, I think a very easy, low-lift thing to do to kind of improve your privacy and is just download Signal. Somebody brought up TikTok.
My roommate uses that for drug deals.
Yeah, I mean that's an okay. I mean, well, you could tell your roommate this if he might want to consider hiding his IP, and maybe maybe phone. I mean, they won't have any evidence, but like if anybody's really looking into you, they'll, if you hide your IP, then they can't get your location. They'll just know that you sent a message to X person at X time, and there's no correlation between they wouldn't be able to read the message, and if you hide your IP, they wouldn't be able to pin you to a location.
And you want to be extra safe.
What?
It's basically becoming an advertisement for VPN.
But also, if you want to be extra,
well, you could use
safe,
Tor. You could use Tor. Tor's not a VPN. It's just yard sale.
I was just gonna say, if you want to be extra cautious, you could just use my address for the delivery spot for the drugs.
Ramph.
We'll keep that. We'll keep that in mind.
I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Somebody brought up TikTok. John McAfee posted something on TikTok recently, and it was very similar to my feelings on this. I don't think I'm going to get into this, but I'm just happy that I'm not as crazy. I guess maybe I'm just as crazy as John McAfee. I guess. I was going to bring up something. So there's this really important thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit. Although I can't find the link. That's really unfortunate. There's this cryptocurrency called Tron, and Justin Sun is the founder, right? And he's they have an office in San Francisco. They acquired BitTorrent. Do you guys remember BitTorrent? Do you remember like torrenting like porn and music back in the day?
Oh yeah. All my porn, all my discographies came from BitTorrent when I was younger.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of decentralization, but it does have a danger to it. Like Justin Sun has tried on more than one occasion to kind of profit off of decentralization. For example, one of the projects mentioned in this article is this thing called BT Alive or whatever, and they are using BitTorrent to redistribute Hollywood films, and then each time something gets streamed, there's like a token that like 20% of the price to stream it through the token goes back to BT Live, which is basically a way to like profit off of these Hollywood films. But because it's decentralized, nobody can really stop it, nor can any government. And there's been a few different projects that he's been involved in. But this article basically kind of goes into like the really, really sleazy part of like cryptocurrency and decentralization. He basically tells his employees to pump the coin. He also comes from China, so this guy is famous for touting that like he graduated a school that was like hosted by Jack Ma or whatever, and he made a bunch of money on this app. He bought BitTorrent and kind of took over the company, right? And during that time, the employees kind of started to see some of the Chinese work culture, and it kind of talks about a lot of dirt about Justin Sun and how he kind of like helped, like how shady he was in the world of cryptocurrency. He is also famous for buying a lunch with Warren Buffett. So every so often, Warren Buffett sells his time essentially, and then donates it to charity or whatever. And whoever buys it wins the bid, gets to have lunch with him. So Justin Sun bought a lunch with Warren Buffett. It's been I guess it was like the largest in history. It was something ridiculous. Let me just look it up real quick. And this whole event is kind of an insight. It was a $4.5 million dinner. But what happened was shortly after, he posted that he got kidney stones and he wouldn't be able to have the dinner, right? But what actually happened, according to this article and multiple employees at BitTorrent, the Chinese government, there was also an article about the Chinese government raiding Tron headquarters shortly after he won the bid. And that was connected because the Chinese government had reached out to Justin Sun saying that you can't have this like dinner, especially during a trade war, right? And he was like, well, I want to do it anyways and all this stuff, but like the Chinese government literally raided his place and arrested a whole bunch of people for no reason as a threat to him to like, back off of this lunch because it's a political thing. there's also these employees also report that they used to have unlimited vacation at BitTorrent. It was very flexible, like most startups. And when talking with management, with Justin Sun and management, the response from management was, the Chinese government tells you when you can take a vacation. Nobody can tell you when to take a vacation but the Chinese government. Reading this article made me kind of really get an insight into how, maybe people like Chinese work culture, like how different it is. Justin kind of treated his Chinese subordinates like subhumans. At one point, he spat on an employee, punched an employee. There was a lot of like, "How dare you talk to me this way?" kind of thing, and yeah, it's just crazy. They talked about the 996 work week. Do you guys know what the 996 work week is, or work schedule is?
No.
So in China, and a lot of the developers for this work this schedule, and it's that you work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week.
What?
Yeah, it's a pretty, let's see. It's a pretty standard work schedule there. Actually, a number of Chinese internet companies have adopted this system, including, Tron. Anyways, I don't think about it often. I think I assume that stuff over there is pretty shitty. But this article really gave me an insight of some of that, like, Chinese work culture influence in a Western company, and kind of like how deeply they can contrast. So Lux, I see you have one article here.
You proud of me?
One article?
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. It's like, I have to show it because it's the one article on here.
That's just so unlike him.
Yeah, Senate Republicans take aim at liability protections for social media companies ahead of November election.
Yeah, so we're talking about how social media companies, etc., are tracking our data. You've got privacy concerns. I've kind of pushed back against the importance of that, but have come around a little bit. But I think this is a much more important issue, which is the curation of thought and discourse on social media and the internet in general. So they're empty. There's more fuel under the sink if you want to refill them.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is, like, if you are on Twitter right now and you have a certain number of followers and you say something to the tune of, "A man is never a woman," you can be banned for life. And there are, it's just a screw top. And there are several users who have been banned for saying exactly that. And
So
basically,
it's similar on YouTube, actually. There's this whole thing. Although I kind of agree with it. I don't like cryptocurrency YouTube channels, but they're getting banned left and right.
under the bar sink.
What was that?
I'm talking to my roommate at the same time.
Oh.
We're
What are you doing?
refilling yeah, it's the same on YouTube. It's the same on Facebook. It's the same on pretty much everything. There are certain things you're just not allowed to say.
It's a really difficult. It's a really difficult thing, you know. I mean,
It's
there's
not. I disagree. I don't think it's that difficult. I mean, there are difficult conversations, but you shouldn't be shutting down the conversation just because you feel like a person has an opinion that is abhorrent. You know.
I agree with that. I guess what I'm really saying is that there might be a better way to do it, and it's a little bit. It's a little bit difficult because just because we have freedom of speech doesn't mean I necessarily doesn't mean I have to listen to it. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. You don't have to read people's tweets. You don't have to.
Sure,
engage in-
but the way these things are set up, they currently don't have a user story for kind of curating that content if they want to. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like if I don't want to, hear about something or something like, if I don't want to see certain posts, there's no see fewer of these, or don't, I don't want to hear about, fucking somebody saying.
I don't know how it works on like Twitter or Facebook or any of the social media stuff, but they do have that on YouTube.
I think they have that for ads.
No,
Right.
they have it for They have it for content also.
Huh.
Well, so you're saying you don't want that to show up in your feed? Is that what you're saying? Like
Yeah, like you should have a button that says "Show me less of this type of content," so that the algorithm learns what you want to see, or don't want to see, rather. But that's one part of the conversation. Sure, you can make that, but you could also just not look. You know what I mean? Like you have control of your eyeballs and your brain. So, I mean, the computer doesn't necessarily do everything for you.
Yeah, I mean, things have just become, everything is newsworthy, right? So every opinion, you put it in a way that looks like something that's newsworthy, which everybody reads, and you make it like a splashing headline or whatever you want. And people then think it's legitimate. And then it starts becoming an opinion, and it starts becoming, oh, this is true fact. And then that just circulates far and wide. And, does that make sense? Like, I feel like that's part of the problem. Like, it's not accurate information. It's just opinions. And
well, I mean, but that's that might be a cultural thing, right? Like, I'm not a cultural thing. Like, we shouldn't be depending on social media for facts.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is that, like, so many people take what is online on social media as just that is the truth, and like that's like watching the news for them now. They don't understand that it's not accurate, and I think so many people put faith into what they see online.
Well, it's a strategy, right? Like, if you we talked about this a few weeks ago, I think, in regards to privacy. If you really want to push something on social media, and you know that X amount of people are probably inclined to lean left or right, you push certain ideas forward, and then you employ bots to reinforce that idea, and you just pound that idea over and over and over and over and over again into people's feeds. People start subscribing to it and believing it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a benefit to hearing people that, hearing people out whose ideas you either don't agree with or you find abhorrent. Because, if you're only hearing, the problem with the feed is the algorithm, like, you think that is really, like, the only perspective in a way, and everyone else is like, you're not really hearing out anyone out. You're hearing the other side through the lens of your side, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it cuts
It's a fair
fucking
point.
conversation off at the knees. And not to say that, you know, that conversation would, you know, should or would make you, you know, turn the other way, you know, lean the other side. But it's I think it's important to hear that other side, you know.
Well, Lux, to your point, you know, you're saying you don't have to look at it. Well, you don't have to use Twitter. You don't have to use Facebook. There are alternatives.
Of course, yeah, but broadly speaking, the well, let me put it this way. Yes, that is correct. However, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of these companies benefit from certain liability protections. So they're treated similarly to a utility company from a legal standpoint. So in the same way that your telephone company can't be held liable for you using their phone services to deal drugs, that's the way Twitter is treated.
Right.
So Twitter is not held responsible for the content on their platform because they're not, you know, generating the content. It's just up to the users, however they want to use it. However, they're not doing that anymore. They are involved in the content production process through these methods of curation, and they are making value judgments on the content that they are producing. And so therefore they're acting less like a utility or a phone company and more like a publisher. Like
I've heard this argument before. I don't know where I heard this from, like almost verbatim. And
that's exactly what I'm repeating. It's not original, but that's the argument at hand, and that's what this article is about.
Well, I'm not saying that like I'm gonna look. I'm not saying I disagree with that argument. I think it's valid. When I also think about how it's their own platform and they should be able to do whatever the fuck they want with it, I think that's also fair too.
It is, but you need to also be held to the same legal standards that other companies are held to that do whatever the fuck they want and publish material. So you can't write in a book or in a newspaper that says Upload Twashi is a child rapist. I can't publish that without being liable for slander, right? You could then sue me. And so that's the argument. They're not saying you can't do it. They're saying, go ahead, do whatever the fuck you want, but we want to be able to hold you to the same standards we hold other publishing companies to, because that's what you're doing. You're publishing content. And so you should be held liable to it.
You're publishing other people's content. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think that's the perfect remedy for these situations, because it gives the company choice. The company can make a choice. If they want to make a choice, they can take those cases to court and say, no, you're not allowed to say a woman is never a man. That is offensive to the point that it should not be allowable on our platform, and we made the right decision. And you can go take that to court and fight it out. You may win, you may lose. But the point is, we can't even take that case to court now, because they're protected under these laws.
Sure.
The laws originally originated with the internet itself. So stuff that was happening on the internet, you know, the creators of the internet, or Google, the indexer of the internet, couldn't be held liable. But now it's being spread to other companies that really, you know, they shouldn't be held. I mean, even if they're not curating, they still shouldn't be held to the same standards, because they're just not the same thing. Twitter isn't the same thing as Google as a search engine. Twitter isn't the same thing as an internet. Twitter isn't the same thing as a phone company, as an internet service provider or a phone service provider. It's an entirely different thing. And so our regulations just haven't really caught up. And it's having detrimental effects to political discourse, because more often than not, it's been pretty clearly demonstrated, despite how many people will deny it, it's been pretty clearly demonstrated that conservative opinions are, broadly speaking, shut down. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Stuff like on gender, stuff like on abortion, stuff like that. Specifically, the gender one is a big one, where you can't say there are only two genders on Twitter without being risk of having your tweet flagged, potentially having your account suspended, potentially being suspended for life. So if you believe right now that there are only two genders, which is frankly a pretty non-controversial opinion, you are in danger of being locked out of the popular discourse online. And so to me, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because to me...
You sound very passionate about it.
I mean, I believe in free speech. I mean, like, you know, we were texting back and forth the other night during the debate. Like, you know, it's not that I love this country. It's that I love the ideals that this country stands for. You know, before us, it was the UK. The UK was the freedom country of the world.
You ever think it's kind of weird that the left or the Democratic stance on free speech in particular has dramatically shifted? I remember a very different stance from the Democrats and maybe what you would perceive as to be the left today. Very, very impassioned about free speech. And today, it seems like those ideals have kind of flipped on both sides. It's really weird. And I don't think freedom of speech is the only topic that those parties have flipped on. But I just, it's a very interesting phenomenon, you know?
No, I agree 100%. I don't know if you remember this, but I brought this topic up.
I'm glad I'm not. I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks that way. Like I feel, I've been thinking about it for a minute, and you know, it's good to hear that somebody else is probably seeing that occur.
Yeah, for sure. And I brought this topic up long time ago, early days of the podcast, before Duff and Yard Sale were here. But I think we're living through a period in history where we'll look back and point to this time and say this is when the parties flipped. Because the parties don't always stand for the same thing over the course of history. I mean, prior to the 1950s, or in the 1950s and previously, the Democrats were actually very much what we would consider conservative today. So the Democrats were the party of the KKK. They weren't for racial integration. They weren't for a lot of things. There was a segment of the Democratic Party during World War II that was for those things, but it was for a very small segment. Predominantly, the Democratic Party was more like what we would consider the Republican Party today. And yeah, I think you're right. I think they're flipping on a lot of different issues.
It's insane. Yeah.
It is. And the left, I mean, it's kind of stupid because the left thinks like, oh, we'll shut down these bigots on these topics that they shouldn't be talking about because that's the way we feel. But clearly, it doesn't end there, because Facebook doesn't give a shit about Republicans or Democrats or left or right. Facebook cares about money. And this can easily become a tool used by bad actors, governments, etc., to shut down any subversive discussion. And that's going to include Black Lives Matter, that's going to include Antifa, that's going to include anything on the left that's going on that is against mainstream establishment's thought, policy, and ideology. So
you know that China has their own version of all these apps that are primarily controlled by the government. It's just interesting to see them. There's got to be some kind of like what is going on, right? Like, these are private companies. Couldn't they take different stances on things? Why are they so unified in this? I don't know. There's got to be something going on behind the scenes, like some private group that has control over these companies.
It's a little bit on
a quorum of some sort.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit on the conspiracy theory side, but I think that, there's potentially people that are playing the long game and seeing the bigger picture and pushing things in a certain direction.
Yeah. You know
Probably the
the
Jews.
the Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, right? He's a big cryptocurrency person, loves Bitcoin, and sometimes he made a comment recently about Coinbase. Coinbase is probably the most mainstream company to acquire Bitcoin, and what Coinbase has done is said like, hey, leave politics out of the office, and if we want to focus on our goal of building things and stuff, and if you don't like it, then you can leave, and we'll give you a severance package. Twitter kind of came back. Jack kind of came back saying that like, that's not right. You should allow them to like speak, and participate in political activism. But then he turns around, then his own company turns around and kind of like stops, his own company curates posts, like we were talking about. And it's rather confusing to me. Does that make sense? Like the message is just a little bit confusing. Like, how could you say that, and then turn around and then censor like conservative posts? How could you be in support of decentralization and things like Bitcoin, and then turn around and kind of have your own company curate freedom, suppress freedom of speech on your platform?
Yeah. He strikes me as a very hands-off CEO. He did two Rogan podcasts, and in both of them, he comes across as a cool guy, but he just seems like he's not really involved in those decisions, and frankly doesn't want to be, and so he just kind of lets that department run itself and does his own thing. He's more concerned about monetization and making money and all that stuff, which is fine, but
yeah. I mean, he runs Square and he runs Twitter. There's a few CEOs like that right now. Maybe that's what he means, right? Like, if the employees want to do that, then they should be able to do it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Yard Sale had to leave. I'm gonna call it soon. But I do want to explore this really cool Mercedes that I found. It's of course, it's another electric car prototype, but this one in particular has the driving mechanism. There's no steering wheel here. It has a driving mechanism in which you place your palm on.
Whoa, that's so weird.
And
that's a car?
It's a car. And it like reads your heartbeat. It kind of like reads your biometrics and stuff to kind of understand what you're feeling and use it as a means to controlling the car. It's pretty insane.
Futuristic.
It's super futuristic. It was inspired by the movie Avatar. It's got these like fins on the back that move. I don't even know why they move. You see these fins? I don't know why they move. But yeah, it's an interesting concept. It'll be very interesting to see how humans interface with machines in the future. Things like Neuralink, things like this little palm thing. Just gets me really excited about like the possibilities. Mercedes does a great job of kind of exploring all this stuff. This heartbeat thing totally reminds me, just to go back to when I was talking about BitTorrent. The guy had everybody install like a version of Slack, like a Chinese version of Slack, apparently this thing like tracks workers' footsteps and heartbeats and all this stuff to like, you know where they are, make sure they're working, know their health. It's pretty fucking insane. I don't know how I'd be able to ever deal with that if like I had to install like some kind of like app on my phone that tracked like everything I did in and outside of work.
Yeah,
That
I
was
don't
like
think I
transparent to like my employer. It's just freaky as fuck. Anyways, this is a really cool thing. It looks like it's gonna fly. It really looks like it could fly. And it kind of looks like the early 2000s Batmobile with those wheels. The Batman Forever mobile. Batman Forever. Batmobile. This was arguably probably the worst Batman movie ever. See what I'm saying with those like glowing lights and shit? Glowing wheels? There we go. See the glowing wheels? It's just like this.
Oh, the one down there with Jim Carrey as a Joker. It was on the last page. That was the best Batman movie.
Jim Carrey? You mean as a
No,
Riddler?
not Jim Carrey. Yeah, as a Riddler. Sorry, as a Riddler.
Really?
I love that movie. I thought that was great.
No way. It was like how like the last super theatrical, I don't know, Batman movie.
I just remember the chick that played Poison Ivy was super hot.
She's the same chick in Kill Bill. Right?
Is it?
Yeah.
No. Really? That's Uma Thurman?
Thurman, right?
U-
Yeah, I
Uma
think
Thurman,
it is.
Yeah, Uma Thurman was Poison Ivy. Yeah.
Mhm.
I did not know that.
She looked great in the movie for sure. Yeah. That's her. She just moved really well. I really never thought Uma Thurman was good looking.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I was surprised when you said it was her. I didn't even put
Yeah.
that together.
Yeah, man.
Name has got like a weird fucking heart on for her feet.
What?
What?
Oh, from Kill Bill?
Yeah, the guy who made Kill Bill. What's his name?
I hated her feet, dude. Her
Was it-
feet were
Was
horrendous
that a
in it.
Quentin Tarantino movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino. He's like famously like a foot fetish guy.
But her
And-
feet
and,
are
like-
horrendous. They look like ice skating feet.
I think Kill Bill is such a
Last
great
one
movie.
too.
All right, guys. On the footnote, call it. Next week, guys. Let's try and play Among Us. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right. I'll contact you outside of this. Let's have a good night. Peace, everybody.